Every Woman. On this show, you'll be enlightened, entertained, and inspired by the women you're about to meet. They're a phenomenal and interesting group that reflects the true diversity of women today. On this episode of Every Woman,
fashion designer Diane von Furstenberg tells us how her life has gone from princess to fashion mogul.
I love contradiction, and I'm nothing but a contradiction.
Charlene Rawls shares with us how she became an amazing triathlete against all odds.
I don't know exactly what happened, but the Jeep turned over on its side. In the process, my foot got completely severed. But the truth is, when it happened to me, all I could think about was, thank God I'm alive.
Kathy Hughes and her son slept on the floor of their first radio station. Today, their company, Radio One, is a multi-billion-dollar media conglomerate.
This was a new opportunity, a new world for me. I knew how to run a radio station, but what I did not know at that juncture was the business of radio.
These are motivational, inspirational, and extraordinary women you should meet.
Hi, I'm Gail O'Neill. I'm in the West Village of Manhattan, and we're about to meet Diane von Furstenberg, the designer whose wrap dress defined an era and launched a fashion, fragrance, and cosmetics empire. Diane von Furstenberg's designs have set fashion trends and financial records for much of 2 decades. She's got new designs for the 90s, a new studio, and a new book that tells the story of a woman with not only style, but substance. When you were young and growing up in Brussels, you always had a feeling that you were different, that you wanted to break free. You were very restless.
I just did not like the condition of being a child. I just wanted to be a grown-up and have my own life and have my freedom.
What did freedom mean to you at that point?
Freedom always means the same thing to me. Freedom is a choice.
You went to Swiss boarding schools and school in England as well, and that's where you met the man who would become your husband, Egon.
You know, it was like a sweetheart, you know, a college sweetheart, and we had a beautiful love affair. Then I got pregnant, and then I got married. He was a prince, and so I became a princess just by marrying him.
When you became a princess, did you ever consider having the life of a fairy tale princess, somebody who stays at home, somebody
No, but you know, if you didn't like childhood, the chances are you don't like fairy tales either. And as I said, my life started where most fairy tales end. I married the prince, and for me it was a beginning, not an end.
The couple that had it all didn't keep it for long. Diane and Egon divorced while their 2 children were quite young. By that time, Diane had received another royal title, Princess of Fashion. Her wrap dress was a sensation. Tell me how the girl who was the London bohemian wearing hot pants, platform shoes, clunky jewelry, came to design the dress that represented the
everybody's life. I think, you know, I love contradiction, and I'm nothing but a contradiction. I'm very much a woman, and I very much like not to feel obliged to do anything and not to be a victim of anything, including of fashion. So I think it's nice to feel like a woman and to, you know, and yet to feel free about it. And that's what I do in my clothing.
Diane, what would you say was your greatest challenge in starting a business?
I wanted to be independent, and I wanted to live a man's life in a woman's body. That was my challenge.
What did it feel like when you saw yourself on the cover of Newsweek and on the cover of the Wall Street Journal?
I am on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, and I am in the 7 or 8 o'clock plane to Pittsburgh. And I have a whole bunch of newspaper and magazines with me on the plane, and on top of it, the Wall Street Journal. And this man comes next to me, and he said, what is a good-looking girl like you reading the Wall Street Journal for? And I just thought to myself, I am on the cover of, you know. But I just thought...
Did you point it out to him?
No. And the fact that I didn't say anything, actually, is probably the best thing that I did for myself, because I never had a better feeling of satisfaction within myself. But I have always thought it was somewhat an advantage to be a woman. I don't know why. Women are more flexible, and they're so used to play so many roles since they are a child that they are somewhat more equipped for adversity.
That theory was tested when Diane was forced to sell her business. Then, after years of living abroad, she returned to the U.S. and bought back the business and her signature.
What inspired your comeback?
When I came back from Europe and I saw that what I had created, which was almost like a third child to me because I gave it so much of myself, didn't reflect who I stood for. I was very unhappy about that. Whether, I'll be able to create an empire again or not, it's at this point almost irrelevant. The point is that I managed to clean up the name, make it all clean, and make it desirable again, and for a whole new generation of women.
Well, I think optimism is very important.
I love life. I have passion for life. I love and cherish life and appreciate it so much. And it goes so fast that I feel I have an obligation to honor it. So while I'm alive, I want to live it.
When we come back, Charlene Rawls shares with us how she became an amazing triathlete against all odds.
I don't know exactly what happened, but the Jeep turned over on its side. In the process, my foot got completely severed. But the truth is, when it happened to me, all I could think about was, thank God I'm alive.
And Kathy Hughes and her son slept on the floor of their first radio station. Today, their company, Radio One, is a multi-billion-dollar media conglomerate.
I lost everything. For 18 months, I slept on the floor of my radio station in a sleeping bag and washed up in the public bathroom before my staff came to work. But the buck stops here.
Charlene Rawls and Kathy Hughes, extraordinary women you should meet. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
The beach in Oceanside, California is a good place to begin the story of Charlene Rawls. She grew up not far from here in San Diego, where her childhood was far from idyllic. The product of an alcoholic father and absentee mother, her world was less often the beach and more often the streets.
I was on the streets of San Diego at the age of 14. Finally, the state caught up with me and said they were going to put me in a foster home, and I was scared to death to go into a foster home, so I got married.
By the age of 23, Charlene and her young husband were working with troubled teens, and it was as they were driving some of them to a camping trip one day that Charlene's life changed forever. Tell me about the day you had your accident.
We were taken to where we take the boys camping, and I don't know exactly what happened, but the Jeep turned over on its side. We weren't going that fast, but in the process, anyway, my foot got completely severed.
Although doctors tried to save her foot, her lower leg was eventually amputated. And then came a second devastating blow. During her recovery, her husband left her. It took all she had to find solace from this double loss. Amazingly, finding her solace in the simple gift of life.
3 months before I lost my foot, I'd seen a lady who was missing her arm to here, and she just had a little stump and she wasn't wearing an arm. And I thought, oh my goodness, if that ever happens to me, I just want to die. But the truth is, when it happened to me, all I could think about was, thank God I'm alive.
Where actually is your leg severed?
My leg goes to about here.
After her accident, Charlene moved to Jackson, Wyoming. Always an athlete before, Charlene committed herself to returning to the sporting world she loved. Her first attempt as a disabled person was downhill skiing. She'd never skied before, but it was a new sport for a new life.
It's something I'd never done before, so you don't know what it's going to feel like, so you don't get frustrated.
But she was frustrated with the basic prosthetic she was using for sporting pursuits, so she had a special one made. And then in 1978, after competing against able-bodied skiers in Jackson for 2 years, she heard about a new type of competition, a disabled ski race being staged in Winter Park, Colorado. And the results were astounding.
The town of Jackson, the people of Jackson, got up the money, sent me down to Winter Park, Colorado to go to these races. Well, I won everything. I beat all the guys. I mean, I took home, and it was kind of embarrassing.
And skiing was just the beginning. Skiing led to snowboarding. Then in the off-season, she began long-distance running. And that led, amazingly enough, to triathlons. She's now competed in over 15 of them. But for all these sports, she needed all new types of prosthetics. And it was that need that brought her back home to California.
They were designing all these new feet were coming out on the market, ankles that moved, and I couldn't afford them. So what I did is I actually moved to LA. I went to prosthetic school, and I learned to be a prosthetic technician.
Coming full circle, Charlene now works for the very prosthetics firm that made her first leg 25 years ago.
And how many legs do you own?
Right now, I have my everyday leg, my running leg, my bicycle leg. Oh yes, and I have a peg leg that's carved that I use for Halloween and costume parties.
You are a hoot.
And recently, this firebrand decided to take up a mellower sport, which along with it, of course, came a new leg.
Okay, surf's up. I just said I would love to try and surf again. So we designed a special leg for me at work for surfing, because you really do need a special leg.
How does it feel to ride the waves?
Oh, it's absolutely, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
A sense of humor and a sense of pride have gone a long way to help Charlene recover, thrive, and even excel as a disabled person, turning what could have been a life-destroying event into an opportunity for personal growth.
I wouldn't call it a blessing, but I've made the best of it. It's my lifestyle, and so I just go on living it as best I can and to the fullest, and I'm very, very happy.
So let's see, skiing, snowboarding, running, triathlon, surfing. Is there any sport left that you haven't attempted that you'd like to?
Tap dancing?
And as she's proven through her life, with Charlene Rawls, anything's possible.
Coming up next, Kathy Hughes and her son slept on the floor of their first radio station. Today, their company, Radio One, is a multi-billion-dollar media conglomerate.
I created a format called Quiet Storm, which is now the #1 nighttime radio format in the country.
She's next, so don't go away. We'll be right back. On the next Everywoman, fashion designer Diane von Furstenberg, triathlete Charlene Rawls, and chairperson and CEO of Radio 1, Kathy Hughes. Extraordinary women you should meet on the next Everywoman. On the next Everywoman, Diane von Furstenberg, Charlene Rawls, and Kathy Hughes.
Having your earphones working your board. That's what you should have.
Kathy Hughes is an amazing woman. She gave up everything she had to buy her ex-husband's interest in radio station WOLAM in Washington, D.C.
Oh, you gotta love yourself, have compassion for yourself, because if you don't have compassion for yourself, you can't love nobody else.
She and her son lived at the station because they had nowhere else to go. Today, Hughes' Radio 1 is this country's largest radio group, owned and operated by African Americans.
It's very important to me that no matter how large we get, and we've just started to grow, that we don't lose that family touch. Because one of the things that we promote constantly with our listening audience is that we want to create a sense of family, the African American family. Well, we can't promote that with our listeners if we don't do it ourselves internally. My business philosophy is that it is possible to make money for your shareholders and at the same time do good for the community that you service. And there's this misnomer, particularly in the African American community, that if you're successful, that you lose touch with the community. Well, I hope that we are the one stark, raving example that the whole world knows about, that that's not true, that it is possible to do two things at the same time: improve the quality of life for the African American community and make a profit at the same time. God blessed me. I started off as an owner. I started off as a small investor in a black radio station, got the radio bug. And then my first job in radio, I was a general sales manager. I was the first woman general sales manager in Washington, D.C. And some 5 years later became the first woman general manager of a broadcast facility in the nation's capital because of the track record that I had established as a general sales manager. When I took over my first facility, which at that time was owned and still is by Howard University, we were billing like $300,000 a year. When I left, we were billing $3.7 million a year. And so I really kind of started at the top and worked my way backwards. I had been blessed in this industry. I created a format called Quiet Storm, which is now the #1 nighttime radio format in the country. And I had an opportunity to purchase a station. And I had to make 32 presentations to 32 men, all of whom told me no. They did not think I was credit worthy. No, we will not loan you $1.5 million. My 33rd presentation was to a woman at Chemical Bank of New York. First week on the job, she was Puerto Rican, and I just kept selling. I kept making my presentation. I had been turned down 32 times, and she's like, "Excuse me, I'm giving you the loan. I almost fainted. This was a new opportunity, a new world for me. I knew how to run a radio station, but what I did not know at that juncture was the business of radio. And I had to learn it the hard way because literally I lost everything. For 18 months, I slept on the floor of my radio station in a sleeping bag and washed up in the public bathroom before my staff came to work. What kept me going, the employees were dependent on me. They had rent payments, they had car payments, they had children to support. So it wasn't just that I couldn't fail for myself personally and my family, I could not fail and disappoint them. Well, the station that I bought was located in Georgetown, which is the ritzy area of Washington, D.C. And here I was unable to pay my bills, so you know rent was quite a struggle. So I was able to secure an affordable building in the heart of a drug corridor in Washington, D.C. When we opened the door for the first time, we had to collect over 170 hypodermic needles off the floor. It was a shooting gallery for heroin addicts. And the first night there, the community came to visit me to tell me I was not wanted. And I made a bargain with the drug dealers and the criminal element in the neighborhood, and that was that I would turn the whole front of my building into picture windows so that they could observe a radio station in operation. They could see technology working for them. I said to them, I'm not here to get in your business. I'm here to provide opportunities for you and your family. Give me a chance to exist. What I enjoyed about it was the ability to make an immediate difference in a person's life and lifestyle. The immediate results that I was able to achieve with that microphone. We try to make certain that what we do with our broadcast day improves the quality of life for at least one of our listeners, and then our efforts are not for naught. We concentrate on doing the ordinary traditional things, but we also do a lot of non-traditional things. Classic example, a neighborhood was flooded out because of a water main. We raised $58,000 from our listeners within a 12-hour period. My primary obligation has to be to super service my listener, because if I don't have listeners, I'm not going to have advertisers.
Yes, I am.
Well, you know, it's very interesting because my son likes to facetiously say that he was 19 years old before he realized that everyone didn't work in a radio station. No matter what was going on in my professional life, my professional life has always been secondary to my personal life. My son, my family has always been my number one commitment. I brought my son to work with me because I was not going to turn him into a latchkey kid, and I was not going to be separated from him. So when I continued my studies, when I went to college, he went with me. I believed in taking him everywhere that I went because I did not want to ever once have guilt feelings that I had to choose between my child and my job.
Hi, I'm Byron Allen, and welcome to EntertainmentStudios.com, your entertainment e-commerce superstore. Entertainment Studios is an online entertainment network and superstore that offers free access to over 1,500 celebrity interviews, plus entertainment news, auctions, and celebrity home tours. At the EntertainmentStudios.com Superstore, we offer over 1 million items, including books, CDs, videos, DVDs, toys, games, electronics, Hollywood collectibles, sports memorabilia, and even fine art at low wholesale prices. EntertainmentStudios.com is offering a $10,000 cash giveaway just for shopping at our Superstore. So log on to EntertainmentStudios.com and shop for your chance to win $10,000 cash.
Coming to you from EntertainmentStudios.com. Thanks for joining us on Everywoman. See you next week.